Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order Monday, November 4th at 7 p.m. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting occurs on the traditional territory of the Stahelis. Next item of business, CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Introduction of late items.
Seeing none, next item.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to number 3, approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote on the motion. All in favor, and that passes unanimously. Next item of business, CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to the adoption of council minutes. I'll do them in 2 separate ones for you. The first one is A, that the special pre-closed council meetings of October 18th, 2024 be adopted.
Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next item, CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to 4B, that the regular council meetings minutes of October 21st, 2024 be adopted.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer, CAO.
Just don't call me late for dinner. Thank you, sir. So moving on to item number 5, business arising from the minutes.
Or any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, next item of business, CAO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to number 6, consent agenda. We have A, under subsection 3A is age-friendly committee minutes dated August 15th, 2024. Under correspondence, we have a letter dated November 23rd, 2024 from the Youth Parliament of BC regarding the Alumni Society. B, email dated October 16th from 2024 from Marianne Charney regarding Harrison Water Sports tenure. And C is a public concern form dated October 16th, 2024 from Mariana Charney regarding the Harrison Water Sports tenure. And then D, a public concern form dated October 16th, 2024 from Guy Charney regarding the Harrison Water Sports tenure for receipt.
Motion to accept the consent agenda moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion. Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to pull out letter dated September the 23rd from the Youth Parliament, page 17, for discussion under correspondence, please.
Is that a motion to
As a
move
motion,
that
yes.
motion?
Yep.
Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion on the motion? Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Schweinbenz.
Sir, can you clarify, we're removing it? Is it?
I'm from the consent, sorry, through you, Your Worship. From the consent agenda, Councillor Schweinbenz, I'm moving that page 17, the Youth Parliament of BC, be moved to correspondence so I can address it. The consent is just for receipt. Thank you.
Councillor Schweinbenz, any further discussion? I'll call the vote on the motion to move that item to the other section. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Councillor Schweinbenz.
Oh, sure. In that case, I've got a couple quick comments regarding the Harrison Water Sports letter as well. Perhaps we could remove that so we can discuss also.
Sure. Which letters would you like moved to the correspondence section?
Sorry, I was the one on Page 19 is fine. Letter from Marianne Charney.
Is that a motion to move the page 19 email from Marianne Charney to the correspondence section?
Please.
A lot of feedback tonight. I don't know why. Hope it's not bothering the gallery too much. Any discussion on that motion? So, sorry, seconded by Councillor Fascio. Call the vote on that motion to move that item. All in favor? And that carries unanimously as well. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the vote to accept it as we've modified it. All in favor? That carries. Next item of business, CEO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to delegation and petitions, we have Gwen Schmidt from Community Futures North Fraser to present Community North Fraser overview.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
The floor is
I'm
yours.
just waiting for my slides. There we go. Pardon me. Thank you so much for allowing me a few minutes of your time. I'm just going to give you a high-level overview of our program and what we've done provincially, regionally, and in our service region. So Community Futures North Fraser, we've been established since 1986. And I don't know where I'm pointing this to. Oh, there we go. We are a not-for-profit organization. We're federally funded by the Pacifican Regional Development Agency. We have 34 offices in the province of BC. We have 4 Indigenous specific offices. Our local one is Stalo Community Futures, and Rocio and her team actually services Yale to Fort Langley, both sides of the river. And we have 269 Community Futures offices across Canada. Our mandate is to help entrepreneurs and businesses start, grow, and succeed. We work to support a positive business environment. Economic wellness is our vision for all businesses and communities in our service area. What do we do? High level is we help businesses and entrepreneurs at all levels. We can help manage change. We can help with starting, buying, expanding, succession planning of your businesses. All of our services are free. We also offer the self-employment training program, and we have hundreds of online training courses. Our service area is the City of Mission, Agassiz. You'll see client photos sprinkled throughout my presentation, Harrison Hot Springs, and Harrison Mills as well. There's a couple other local clients. So starting from the top down, some provincial highlights I thought were really important to show because we are province-wide. So there's with the 34 offices, we did 198 supportive role community projects, 695 loans in the province, over $53 million money we put it back into the province of BC. And we had 408 leading role community projects. Across the province, we have 236 staff and 298 volunteers. Now we like to highlight a little bit of regional efforts. So Community Futures, South Fraser, North Fraser, and Stalo Community Futures, we kind of do a lot of collaborative projects. So just the 3 of our offices, we put $2.3 million into our region. We leveraged over $2.1 million. We did over $3,000 or 3,000 advisory services, and 281 jobs were started. We had 956 board hours developed or accounted for, and this is just our last fiscal between the 3 offices, and we were part of 113 projects. My office specifically, again, just Mission, Harrison, Agassiz, north of the river, we had 656 volunteer hours. So that's between all my board members, committee members. I was very grateful for our team this year. We're part of 29 community projects. We had 12 loans dispersed in our area, over $1.3 million or 1.1, over 300 business training participants. So those would be the classes and the online training included as well. In my office, we have 6 staff and we have 21 volunteers in total. The volunteer number has actually gone up now. We just signed on a few more members. We also do development lending. So we have specific loan funds for microloans and working capital, entrepreneurs with disability, development and expansion. Startup funding is our specialty. we do it differently than banks and credit unions. We are partners with banks and credit unions. We do not compete. We lend heavily on character and capacity. Normally, most of our clients would have been declined at a bank or credit union if they wanted to come to us for lending because the government created us to fill the gap. Some community partners, you'll see some familiar logos. So these are either projects that we've been on or sponsoring items. A lot of things we have given to this community specifically is we've helped fund the Harrison Artisan Market for several years in a row, which has created a job for the coordinator. We also have given money to Lights on the Lake and a whole plethora of community projects. That's my favorite part, is giving the money away. And I'm always going to come and do presentations in front of people and ask for help because 90% of our business is referral based. So if you know of any business that needs help and training, I am out here every week so I can come meet them if they can't come out to our office in Mission. If you know of any business that maybe be having some challenges, needs help mitigating change, again, refer to us. And anyone that maybe needs extra training, refer. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Any comments? I see Councillor Vital. Please.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to Gwen. Gwen, thank you for the presentation. I did have the privilege of being council liaison for a good number of years. It's now been turned over to Councillor Schweimitz, but I just wanted to extend a thanks for your contribution to tourism here in Harrison. Festival of the Arts, and of course, our upcoming event, Lights by the Lake, which is always a huge magical event here in the village. One question. So if somebody was to come to me as a counselor and say, or to one of our staff members and saying, I know that there's some opportunities for small businesses, retail here in the village, but I don't know anything about how to go about doing that or getting loans. If staff or I were to refer to you, you could just walk them through everything that is needed, including training and startup costing, and yeah, thank you.
Yes, that's a great question. And it is as easy as just an email or a phone call, and we can take it from there. Even if they're thinking, if they're just curious about entrepreneurship and small businesses, we can even talk to them about that. We have templates and work and training shops. Also, if they need help registering, we do tax training, bookkeeping training, marketing training, anything that you want. Most of our referrals actually come from municipalities, city staff, and mayor and council because you guys are on the front line of businesses. So for sure, it would just be an email and then we would take it from there.
Thank you.
Councillor Schweinbenz.
Carry on, Mark.
Sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Sorry. Thank you for your presentation. I've been able to go to one meeting. Thank you. They do it at an ungodly hour of 7 a.m. on Tuesday mornings. Thank you. And I just want to provide some testimony as to the power that this group has for communities. And you might notice some familiar pictures on her presentation. And I spoke to one of the people on this, and he gave me testimony as to how it impacted him and their family. One of our most popular coffee shops just a half a block away is Muddy Waters. And in 2012, Richard and Jenny had an idea to take over this business, but you can't get traditional loans as young people without a business. And so the gap is real and the need was great, and you guys fulfilled them, and they were able to create a successful business that is a mainstay in their community. And he was very proud to see that he paid off the loan within months. But it's just that startup seed capital that people need. There's some other pictures that you'll notice here of very local people. So for young entrepreneurs who having trouble with expertise or trying to scale up or trying to get seed capital, I would recommend council, if you hear of these individuals, then then send them along to Gwen's Way. And they're a virtual library for engineers. If you need any expertise or advice, they seem to have all that in-house. So let's get the word out if there's young entrepreneurs that need their help. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Swinburne. Councillor Fascia.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. Much appreciated. This young fellow across the road from me, Councillor Jackson, myself, did a presentation there back in 2007. If you remember that, Al, we presented, we did an evening presentation there about showcasing our community. It was a great evening. But so my question is the chamber involved in referring people that come to them, for help to people? I would have thought they would be one of the major referrals, and also community services. Are they involved in that way as well?
With both, I don't know if I am, with both chambers, so Harrison Anglesey Chamber and Mission Chamber, we do receive a lot of referrals since we're all in the small business, help. But we do receive a lot of referrals, and vice versa. If we have a new business that's come across, we always refer to the chambers as well because they can give them some more exposure with, other like-minded people. Mission Community Agency Services, Community Services and Mission Community Services, we don't generally get a lot of referrals. We are partners with them on some community projects. So we've actually been a project lead with them if they needed to raise some more funding, or if they had a community project for a specific item. We usually will write grants and things like that if we have the means and capacity at the time, but we have done that in the future with them.
Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Worship. I just would make one comment. As a long-time director of lending in the large organizations, the one thing that I really like here is you got character first. Because in the lending business, if you've got character, you don't have problems. You can have good credit. You can maybe even have good capacity, but the character is what carries you through. I'm very pleased to see that you've put that first. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt, for your time tonight. Appreciate it. Next item of business, CEO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to correspondence. We have a series here. I'll read them out. They'll be all for receipt. Email dated October 17th, 2024 from Edward Wood regarding the closure of the North McCombs Bridge for safety concerns. B is email dated October 17th, 2024 from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure regarding the UBCM meetings in 2024. Email dated October 18th from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs regarding UBCM meeting 2024. Letter dated October 23rd, 2024 from Bruce Garrod regarding pay parking enforcement, and the items that were moved in was the letter dated September 23rd, 2024 from the Youth Parliament of BC regarding Alumni Society. And the last one is email dated October 16th, 2024 from Marianne Charney regarding Harrison Water Sports tenure.
Can I have a motion to, so moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer, CEO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to item 9, business arising from correspondence.
Thank you. Maybe I'll start. CEO Cook, I wonder if you could respond to the email from Mr. Wood dated October 17, 2024 and concerns on McCombs Bridge.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd be happy to pass it down to our Director of Operations, Jace Hodgson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I can provide an update on this. In May of this year, staff had awarded the bridge abutment design work to a team of engineers which includes civil, geotechnical, and environmental consultants to guide the project through design and the environmental and DFO permitting. The original schedule had planned for the work to be completed by fall of 2025 due to the environmental permitting timelines. But after further failures during a rain event at the end of September, the project team has expedited the permit application under emergency measures. The engineering team have been inspecting the bridge and have recommended the current single lane traffic pattern and to have staff send any visual condition changes to them for review. Staff have been performing these inspections daily, and the next on-site inspection from the engineers will be this week. A request for proposals was also issued today for the utility relocation work, an expedited construction timeline. The abutment design is also in progress, and we are hopeful work can commence in December once the design, permitting, and the procurement is complete.
Thank you, Director of Operations. Any other discussion? Councillor Swinbanks.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. The other day, I was driving back to my place and I passed a hugely loaded lumber truck with 2 trailers going northbound on Macooms, and I mentioned it to you. And I don't know if they crossed over the bridge. I think it'd be pretty tight for that truck. But it just raises the point that I'm wondering if maybe there should be a weight limit. If we need this bridge to last another year, should we impose weight limits on this thing? Maybe we should get some advice on that. Maybe you've already had it. I don't know. I know that would impact school buses and BC Transit buses, but could be a factor that saves our bridge for another year.
Director of Operations.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Swinbanks. Yeah, that is a consideration. We've typically just for this project just been following the guidance of the engineering team that we have. But I can bring that up to them on their next inspection this week just for consideration. But for every aspect of this, we've been following all their recommendations, and they haven't provided anything on weight limit to this date.
Thank you, Director of Operations. Further discussion on correspondence. Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to bring forward page 17, 43 and 45 of the correspondence. On 17, it's unfortunate that we received this. I'm not sure when it came into the office, but the deadline, the application. Now, this is for a British Columbia Youth Parliament. It's a 96 year where youth 16 to 21 spend a week in December in Victoria. Of course, the House isn't sitting then, so that's why, I suppose. And they go through a series of how things are run at the legislature. There is a applicant fee of $455 for registration fee. That's normally taken care of by the parents, and the rest is taken care by the Youth Parliament for transportation and ferries to Victoria. But if there is a problem with finding the registration, then the referring to Harrison would hopefully pick up that registration. So all I'm really asking for tonight is make a motion that our staff refer this to the high school in Agassiz, and maybe they can also ask for a little bit of lead time if they can find a student to go on this very, very worthwhile experience for a young lady or a young man. It's a wonderful experience to do that. So my recommendation is to refer this back to staff to contact the Youth Parliament and send it to the high school.
Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Vital seconds the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Hopefully that works a little better. Thank you. Just reading through the correspondence for the Youth Parliament of British Columbia, I noticed in the second paragraph, and I'll quote, "If your municipality sponsors a Youth of the Year award or has a municipal youth council, young people with that sort of initiative and involvement are ideal candidates." I know it's too late for this year, but I think that perhaps a Youth of the Year award is something that council could consider next year, and seeking applications for worthy youth individuals from the public. And from that, of course, if cost was an issue to have that youth attend, I'm sure we could find it in our means to support them going. Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? Counselor Schweinbutz.
Just wanted to support what you have both said. Both of my boys were able to, through high school, do leadership conferences outside of the province. My older son worked in Parliament in Ottawa, actually, and it's a terrific experience for them. And I'm wondering if we, not just for Youth Parliament, for some other leadership courses, perhaps we could have a bursary for a Harrison Hot Springs student in grade 10 or 11 and 12 who wants to go on some of these programs. We should be able to help them out. I think a $500 bursary would be a fantastic idea for an eligible student. So I support the motion.
Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried unanimously. Any further discussion on correspondence? Go.
Page 43, that's the correspondence from the Transportation and Infrastructure Minister. That's Councillors Vital and Jackson, myself at UBCM, and it's just a letter to make reference to regarding our meeting where we brought up the Rosedale Bridge situation, the improvements along Rockwell Drive, and also we did give them a draft drawings, plans of the revitalization of Lillard Avenue with boulevards and trees and all that as to move forward on that. And also next year, I believe we'll be doing the drainage situation, which we have a grant for on Hot Springs Road. And also, I believe next year, if all goes well, will be the paving of Hot Springs Road and Lillooet. And the last letter was from the Municipal Affairs 45 regarding our meeting again there with the minister in regards to, we heard the need for potential amendments to the community charter, particularly in relation to governance, responsible conduct, and the roles of elected officials and the unique challenges faced by local governments, especially smaller communities. And also the question in regards to the call for the sole state of local emergency, how it should be conducted, and you just cannot use it for the sake of signing a contract. It has to be done for a real reason, for a real emergency. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Further, Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Just to add to Councillor Fascio's comments on letters from the ministry, I'm very glad that these were included under correspondence. It also once again shows council at work at UBCM advocating on behalf
Sorry, I think the lights just flickered, but advocating on behalf of the village. It is the main opportunity we have to make appointments with the ministers. And I believe we get 10 minutes with each of them. And you're literally running from meeting room to meeting room to meeting room to meeting room. I do want to point out with the recent provincial election that there may be some time before we see any progress on our ministers' meetings. And also, I want to say a thank you to this council for submitting their responses for the UBCM discussion paper that came out. There was a comment made last council meeting about the public not being involved. My response to that is the request from UBCM was strictly to mayors and councils in BC to respond to the questions on the discussion paper. Thank you, Mayor Talon.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. This is my third regular council meeting. I am taking good note of the prominence of the UVCM conference and how important it is for the village, and that's our chance to impress upon our provincial leaders things that are important to the village. Thinking ahead to the summer and how we need to strategize and prioritize how it is we're going to approach various ministers at the next one. But it's becoming very evident to me this is a really important conference. Comments, Councillor Swinebens.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Yeah, when I read this letter from the Deputy Minister of Transportation, Ms. Krishna, I'm sympathetic to all the work that this council has done over the years at UBCM and all the letter writing and all the grant applications to get things done to Highway 9 and to Lillooet. And I'm just, maybe it's a question or a comment. What are we getting anywhere with them? It alarms me that we're running from room to room for 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes with them. It seems like we're not really being paid attention to. Back in August, I was leaving our store and I almost hit somebody crossing from this side of Lillooet down towards Spring Park. It was so dark, there's lights coming towards you. And apparently we've been asking for years for a crosswalk light, not only in that location, but another location. So I appreciate getting these letters, but how can we really go about advancing these files and getting some simple things like a light at Spring Park? Perhaps that's a question for CAO or others who have encountered this.
Councillor Passion.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, thanks, Councillor, bring up those points. Number one is that 2 years ago, on meeting with the minister, we got the grant of 1.5 or 1.3 million to do the drainage Hot Springs Road at that point. And we brought this up again this year. I asked on behalf of council to put 4 more crosswalks on Hot Springs Road with the new developments going along there. And also regarding Lillooet, to reduce, to put the bulges out on the crosswalks to make them shorter and also to have lights on them as well. So that was brought up with the ministry, and and they work maybe a bit slower than we do, but we have been, over the many years that we've dealt with the Ministry of Highways, we've had great accomplishments, work done by them with the replacement of the new culverts on Hot Springs Road and the Lillooet and the repaving of McCombs after There was a Bailey Bridge there while they were doing Hot Springs Road. They repaved it all the way up to Emerald, I believe, because of the logging trucks using McCombs. So they've come forward to help out the village in many ways, and we've had good response. But it's a bit slow to get these things moving. I know our staff is working with their staff regarding the drainage, which is very important on Hot Springs Road, to move forward now. And we did ask also if they would partner with the village to expand and put more sidewalks on the east side of Hot Springs Road. We do have a few that's been put in by developers, but to expand it all the way from the front entrance to Miami River Drive. So they were looking at that as well for us. So we do make some progress, but it doesn't always come as quickly as maybe we would like to. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Faccio. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to Council Steinbentz. I also want to point out that as a result of our lobbying, and not only our council, but other councillors, the Fire Smart program was started, and I can't tell you off the top of my head the number of successful grant applications that we have received from the province for our Fire Smart programs. And, you know, I always want to give a shout out to our community services manager, Christy, who I call her, you know, our grant star. But that's another example of what the lobbying and advocating has done for this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Any further discussion on the correspondence? Councillor Schweinbetz.
Not sure if this is the time to talk about this, but the water sports correspondence continues. And I think at the crux of this is again before our time, but at the crux of this, it seems that the people are upset about not knowing what was going on. And I know that staff since the summer has done such an amazing job at improving the communication and the interfacing with residents to disseminate information. We've got Facebook page, we've got Twitter and all that, and a more improved communications template on the website. And I think that's fantastic. But I think, but that wasn't the case when this was happening. So I just want to make sure that going forward, maybe we could ask staff to look at ways that we could even further tweak notifications of things like public hearings or of things that are happening in the community. Maybe there's signage that happens in a certain development. So I'm just asking to see if maybe this is a question for CEO that we could tweak things a little bit and further improve. And I know that there's been great improvement already. Perhaps there's a comment on there. I'm not sure.
I think Councillor Schweinbetz, you need to make a motion to that effect.
Yeah,
I don't want to put
sure.
words in your mouth.
Sure. So I move to ask staff to review policy, procedure, bylaw, and look for ways to improve communication with regards to notifications of public hearings and developments. Thank you.
Comment, CIO Cook.
Yes, thank you. Just in advance of council moving forward with that, I think I might recommend, because we do have a council procedure bylaw that's going to be, that was referred to our council retreat and will be discussed in future. And perhaps that's a more appropriate venue to discuss, you know, notification process that, and instead of creating a motion specific to that. But if it is council's wish, we can certainly move forward with that, but we could probably wrap that into our discussion when we're talking about the council procedure bylaw.
Thank you, CIO Cook. Councillor Schweinbetz.
Yeah, that's great. I'd be satisfied with that if we can put that on the agenda for when we meet. I think it's only a month away, so let's do that.
If I understand, Councillor Schweinbetz, you're withdrawing your motions, so we don't need a seconder for a motion that hasn't been moved. If I got that right. Any further discussion on correspondence? Seeing none, I'll call the vote to accept the correspondence. All in favor? Next item of business, CAO Cook.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on to item number 10, reports of councillors, committees, committee of the whole, and commissions.
Any reports from councillors tonight? Councillor Fashion.
Thank you, Your Worship. 26th of October attended the fire department's training exercise in the village with departments from Mission, Sunshine Valley, Hope, Hopcombe, Agassiz, of course, and of course our own fire department. It was a great turnout, a miserable morning, but it did clear up a bit for them. And it's, I think it was a very successful day for them, from what I've heard from the fire chief, and everything went off very well. And they were down my street and trying things out as well. So it was a great exercise, and this wasn't just for internal fires. This was for the forest as well. So that's all great for our communities, and it's much appreciated, and thank you. The accessibility month is November, and our manager of community services, as of today, has told us that we got a $500 grant to move forward with this. So on the 19th of November, the committee will be carrying out a walking tour of accessible spaces and areas of concern in the village. We'll be meeting at the Memorial Hall. This will be on our website, I'm sure. It's at 10:30 a.m. And apparently I've been told treats and refreshments will be available. So join us if you wish, and look forward to that, to improving things to make the village more accessible for those who are not quite as lucky as some of us are in getting around. And for some, I'm just going to throw this out because the 12th of November, there's a seniors lunch here in the Memorial Hall between 11:30 and 1:30. It's all free or by donation, and it's hosted by Community Services and United Way. And both this event and a seniors cafe on November the 15th at the library are funded by the Ministry of Health. But for the lunch at the Memorial Hall, your request to attend has to be in by Wednesday. So hopefully they'll have some room left for those who haven't applied. Other than that, the other events, as we already been mentioned, is the Lights by the Lake on November the 23rd, which will be followed by fireworks. The skating rink will be up and running, and the event begins at 4:30 or 4 p.m., I believe, at the plaza with entertainment, and you get free hot chocolate. More free stuff in Harrison. Wonderful. Thank you, Your Worship. Oh, sorry. Quick one. Regional District. Chair Jason Lum, councillor for the city of Chilliwack, who has been the chair for the Fraser Valley Regional District for 8 years, gave his last meeting October the 24th. He's standing down from that position, so there'll be a new chairperson will be chosen at the next board meeting this month. We had a presentation from Metro Vancouver Solid Waste Management update. They're not planning on building another incinerator. The one they have at the moment has been going since 1988 apparently. And they have their landfills at Vancouver and Burnaby. And the unfortunate part, that some of this stuff still goes to the landfill. Some of the fly ash and the bottom ash still ends up on in the landfill. So that was a presentation from Metro Vancouver. And we had a report in regards to bylaw enforcement for building code contraventions, and it's they find it very difficult. They find that 40% of the collections are not always granted, and the cost of enforcement is not enough to cover what they get back from enforcement and the time consumed doing this. So maybe something for our staff to be looking at with our bylaw enforcement. Now, thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Pacho. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Before I proceed with my report, given that Jason Lum has now officially resigned from his post at Fraser Valley Regional District, I would like to put a motion forward that staff draft a letter on behalf of this council to Jason Lum, thanking him for his many years of service on the Regional District Board and service actually to our village also. So I'll put that motion forward. Hopefully someone will second it.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Pacho. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, I'll, Councillor Schweinbetz.
Should we add an addendum to the letter that perhaps Mr. Fascio could take his spot?
Further discussion, seeing none, I'll call the vote on that motion. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Councillor Vital, further report?
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. I also attended the fire training session with Councillor Fascio and Councillor Schweinbentz. As Councillor Fascio indicated, it was rather a miserable morning, but I wanted to send a shout out to our fire department for hosting. You were there too. I'm sorry, Mayor Tallon. But I do want to send a shout out to Chief Janest and the fire department for organizing that event. I have also heard that it was a very, very successful event. I believe it lasted the whole day. And I also want to put a shout out to the residents who volunteered their properties as part of the training exercise. Well done. On October 24th, October 22nd, myself and Community Services Manager Christy Evans had the opportunity for a tour of the Earthwise property on Gulf Road. I want to encourage everyone to visit that site and that property. There are walking trails available. There's a cooperative community garden where individuals donate their time in exchange for local produce. Earthwise also provides food boxes to our community services food bank and even has a small farm store on site where grown produce is available for purchase. This organization continues to astonish me with the work they do for both Harrison and Kent to help to reduce food insecurity. On October 24th, I attended our community open house here at Memorial Hall. Thank you to our staff for organizing another very successful public engagement event, as the attendance was incredible. These events are important to our residents to speak to individual organizations and consultants and gain a broader outlook and understanding on council initiatives. Well done. And on October 30th, I attended the joint Kent Harrison Emergency Program Committee meeting. And thank you, Mayor Tallon, for attending and gaining an understanding of the important work of the committee. Topics for discussion at that meeting included Christy Evans circulated a draft to all in attendance on the Emergency Preparedness Resident Resource Guide. And she'll continue to gather feedback from the committee members prior to a final copy. There was a report from Ryan Sherratt, our emergency program coordinator, who reported on weather events, the last atmospheric river that saw rainfall amounts total over 300 millimeters in some areas. Agassiz, Harrison, Hot Springs, and Seabird Island saw roughly 100 millimeters over that time period. And Ryan reported that there were no major incidents as a result of that rainfall. There was a brief report from Ryan on the Chilcotin River landslide that happened at the end of July. The landslide blocked the flow of the Chilcotin River. This caused a dam effect, building up the water behind the slide. There was a large concern regarding a sudden release of water downstream and what damage that could cause. The River Forecast Center issued a flood warning for the Chilcotin River upstream of the landslide and a flood watch for the Chilcotin River downstream. The River Forecast Center had also issued a flood watch for the Fraser River from the Chilcotin River confluence to Hope, and a high stream advisory for the Fraser River west of Hope. On August 5th, the water began to actively flow over the top of the dam, causing a rapid erosion of the slide material. On August 7th, peak flows in the Fraser River. There were peak flows in the Fraser River passing Seabird Island, Hope, and Agassiz. The Fraser River debris trap caught and removed approximately 30,000 cubic meters of woody debris from the outflow. Visually, the Fraser River rose by just over 1 meter by the Agassiz-Rosedale Bridge, and debris could be seen floating downstream. Both Kent and Harrison Hot Springs are coordinating on working on the 2025 application process for the UBC Community Emergency Preparedness Fund grants. The District of Kent completed an EOC applied training course. And on November 8th, 2023, the Emergency Disaster Management Act came into force. This updated legislation reflects the realities of the modern world, including global pandemics, security threats, and climate change, and shifts from focusing on emergency response to the 4 phases of emergency management: mitigation, preparation, response, and recovery. While some of these powers and duties under the new act are now in effect, others will be brought into force over time. The Joint Committee is undergoing updates to reflect this 4 pillars approach that was set out by the province. And also a discussion from Harrison of the request for Kent Harrison Joint Emergency Planning Committee create an emergency bylaw update subcommittee with the District of Kent. That was discussed. That will be in the works in the future. We are waiting again for word on cabinet assignments in the new provincial election. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Councillor Swinburne.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I don't have a long report. I did attend the Engine Boss event and just have a couple of comments. And I wasn't sure what this Engine Boss thing meant. My wife was asking if they were going to produce a calendar at the end of this. But what I've realized is that it's about leadership. And we are very lucky to have leaders on our fire department, Bruce and Nikki Redden, and Bruce and Tom Redden, and Nikki and Tom Redden and Bruce Malhot, and of course, Chief Curtis. And I think we had 8 of our volunteer firefighters that day becoming engine bosses and becoming leaders in their department. And I would like to ask staff to encourage this. Maybe we could do this annually. It seems to be a perfect location. We have lots of room by the dock, and it brings some excitement to the volunteer fire department for us, and it allows departments from the surrounding area to get to know our community in case we do have a problem. So I think it was a great event, and I would encourage us to do that every year if we could. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swinbanks. I think it's a fire boss course. I don't know. I think it was fire, something. It's about training for if there's a big event, how they coordinate amongst forces that come in and respond to provide aid to another fire department. Any other reports from council? Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended a course of Fraser Valley Regional Library meeting. I'm pleased to say that we've done the budgeting process, and we had a retreat away from where we were, by the way, and it was very successful. And the library has all set up for the coming year. It's a really well organization, has a really good board of directors, and when my time is up, I'd recommend it to any of the councillors. I attended the open house here. Again, staff hit a home run. It's just too bad that the Yankees couldn't hit a few in the World Series and they're gone, but our staff is still here. I take my hat off to them. Another great event, and it'll continue. I went to the District of Kent meeting. It was very interesting. Sometime in the future, we'll have more opportunity to discuss that. And also, I did eventually go to the fire department, what they were doing. They came into my backyard and I was very pleased to see what they did, and I felt much better. And thank you, Your Worship, and that's my report for today.
Thank you. We next business, or do we need to accept these reports? Or are they just the next order of business? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to item number number 11, which is a report from Mayor.
I won't repeat what was already said on the events that I've attended over the last couple of weeks. There was one other event or one other matter that I'll report back to council on, and that is I took a meeting with the general manager of the Harrison Resort. This followed on events at the pools created by the public and those getting filled in. Sometimes referred to as the Hobo Hot Springs. I really don't like that name. So I'm just going to call them pools created by individuals, the public near the source building. I have spent a fair bit of time trying to understand the the lay of the land, so to speak, on this. There's an existing mineral interest and subsurface interest held by the resort to the mineral rights. And the resort has a permit, as I understand it, through the Water Act for the construction of the building at the source of the hot springs. The source of the hot springs, as I understand it, is on Crown land. And there are also right-of-ways that the village of Harrison has for various utilities, the water and the water pipes or water treatment plant pipes and the road on top of it. The meeting with the general manager, I think, was a good one in the sense that sort of an acknowledgement is just not an ideal situation all the way around. Doesn't matter how you look at it. There's municipal infrastructure, there's questions about health and safety and a whole bunch of other things. And liability through the sense of those pools may be associated as part of the resort or infrastructure associated with the resort. So lots of concerns. I've been told by a couple of sources that the province will be looking into this, and that's, I guess, to be expected. And I hope they look at the whole scenario, the pools themselves, how they were created, and those things. I think it's a part of a larger conversation. Certainly touched a nerve in the village and for people outside the village as well. I was quite surprised the reaction. or maybe I shouldn't be. I think those hot springs mean a lot to people of Harrison Hot Springs, and certainly looking for opportunities to enjoy them and enjoy them in a natural setting like that was on the side of the lake. So our conversation with the resort continues, and we'll continue to look for opportunities to enhance visitor experience using the hot springs in a safe way. And yeah, that conversation continues. I have a meeting scheduled with the owner of the resort later this week, and be happy to report back on that at the next council meeting. Next item of business, CEO Cook.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on to item 12, reports from staff. We have a report of corporate officer dated November 4th, 2024, regarding the release of closed meeting resolutions. So there are two resolutions that are being released from closed, one for two members being appointed to the Accessibility Committee, and also the operations of the concession at the Starlight Rink. I do want to speak to the Starlight Rink in a little bit more detail. Staff did put out two requests for proposals, and there was one submission that was received from Harrison Eco Tours. Now, since the time that we started finalizing the agreement with Harrison Eco Tours, we recognized that after this report was written, unfortunately, some of this is incorrect. So I'm going to pass it down to our Community Services Manager, Christy Evans, to update the section regarding the dates, starting dates and times and such.
Community Services Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. The Starlight Skating Rink was originally proposed to start on November 22nd. However, staff felt that it would be important to get it started sooner, as November 23rd is a great large turnout event for the Tourism Harrison's kickoff of the Season of the Lights. So we had communicated with Harrison Eco Tours for their service to start on November 8th. There was also, though, an error in the cost. So the service will start November 8th, operating on Fridays and Saturdays from 2 till 8 and Sundays from 1 till 7, as well as over the winter break of school holidays. And the total will be $9,900, not the $10,800 in the report.
Thank you.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on, that the financial plan allocated $4,000 on the budget for this operation of the skating rink as proposed. The proposal required an additional $6,800 to be budgeted. It's actually less now because there's the total is not the same. And it was presented to council for their consideration in accordance with the purchase procedure or procurement bylaw number 108. Revenues of $5,000 can be projected in the 2024 for the rink. And the resolutions in front of council is that the following closed meeting resolutions from October 18th, 2024, closed council meeting be received for information at the November 4th, 2024 regular council meeting, that Shell DeMartin and Geraldine Malliot be appointed to the Accessibility Committee, and that the 2024 Starlight Skating Rink operations and concession be awarded to Harrison Eco Tours.
I move.
Your worship.
I'll second.
Thank you, CEO. Moved by Councillor Fascio and seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion. Councillor Fascio.
Just through you, your worship, to our Manager Community Services, just clarification, November the 8th from Friday and Saturday, 10 till 8. Is that correct?
Community Service Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Fascio. It will be on Fridays and Saturdays from 2 till 8 and Sundays 1 till 7.
Sorry, 2 till 8.
Yes.
And then the second one was,
On Sundays from 1 until 7.
sorry, I can't have sound, I can't.
No.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, your worship.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Swinburne?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I think this is a good plan for us. I think the successful applicant is taking a risk. Given the weather, as a small business owner, I know how difficult it can be to commit funds. And for us to commit funds as well, given that it could be blizzard for a couple of weeks and nobody uses the rink. I think it's a good opportunity for us. Maybe we can utilize them to find out how many people are using the rink. Maybe they can help us to get some numbers, some data on this. I've been approached by a few people in the last couple of weeks that consider maybe it's not the best spot. It's very windswept there. It's away from the amenities of the village. And there's some thought that maybe next year we could do it on this street right beside us. I think that would be a great opportunity to move it to somewhere that might be more fun and more local. So I see it as a data gathering opportunity that for us, and maybe an opportunity to improve it, the service next year as well.
Further comments or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Next item of business, CAO Cook.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on to item 12B, report of corporate officer dated November 4th, 2024, Fraser Valley Regional District Library Council appointments. The village is party to the Fraser Valley Regional District Library bylaw, section 16 and 17 of the Library Act require that the council appoint one member and an alternate to the board at the first council meeting each November. Councillors Jackson and Facio have been appointed as representatives and alternate since the start of the council term respectively, and have both indicated their willingness to continue those roles. Recommendation in front of council is that Councillor Jackson be appointed as the council representative to the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board for 2024-2025, and that Councillor Facio be appointed as the alternate council representative to the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board for 2024-2025.
So moved, Mayor Talon.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Schweinmetz. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Jackson and Councillor Fashu, for your work on that committee. Next item of business, CAO Cook.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on to item 12C, report of corporate officer dated November 4th, 2024 regarding council meeting locations. Well, what can I say about this? It's gone back and forth, and here we are again talking about meeting locations. Essentially, what I think I'll do is just advise council that this has been brought back many times. Thank you. Was referred back to staff to explore, whether we can entertain moving council meetings back to Memorial Hall for the summer months. It was determined, and it has been determined in the past, that July is a very difficult month to remove the occupants out because of the sheer size of the event. However, staff does realize that August and September may or may not see as much activity. I believe the happy medium that we could provide to council is under the recommendation that regular council meetings be held at Memorial Hall, with the exception of July, when the meetings will be held at the village office.
Thank you, CAO Cook. A motion to that effect, moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, and thank you to staff for the report. My one concern was if the hall was booked on the weekend prior to a scheduled council meeting in August or September, and the hall was not cleaned by the party having the event, I didn't want to see our staff time be taken up on Monday to clean prior to council meeting setup. However, staff has confirmed to me that a damage deposit is required when booking the hall, and should a party not fulfill their obligations regarding damage and cleaning, the damage deposit would not be returned. I actually like having meetings here at Memorial Hall. It provides more space. I support the recommendation. And in the future, I know, well, we spent considerable time updating council chambers at the village office. But in the future, I would also like to see council consider upgrading a little bit more here with our microphones and speaker. Perhaps we could move again towards a voice activated rather than this button one that half the time I keep forgetting to turn off. I do support the recommendation, and I view it as a compromise between the preference of our residents and the requirements of especially our staff and council. Thank you, Mayor Talon.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Pacheco.
Thank you, your worship. I'm not going to win this one, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I think tonight gives a perfect example after the public hearing, which is normally the normal amount of people who come to the council meetings. The previous 18 months of what went on here, I think was just created by some people with their delegations and petitions and everything else, which is, anyway, that's water under the bridge. We spend a considerable amount now, according to our manager of community services, who does a fabulous job and never stops doing it, and her staff, that she is or has or is getting a grant or has applied for a grant for more programs to happen in this hall. This is what this hall was made for, was for recreation, social programs. It wasn't meant and if it is something like the OCP and that bylaw to come forward, we get more of a larger audience and open houses. That's all well and dandy, you know, it's fine. I mean, prior to the pandemic, nobody said boo about coming to the council chambers. It's had several thousands of dollars spent on furnishings and visual equipment. Plus, it just had a new paint job. It looks terrific. And in my personal opinion, as I'm a person till such time that we are looking at plans for some sort of future new building, that I see no reason why we shouldn't continue at the village office. There's room there. The last few meetings we've had there, even with the calling in, there's been space still available. And according to the report, there's some 30 people that watch it on Zoom. And if I was a resident, I'd rather sit at home in an armchair and watch it on Zoom. But that's a personal preference, personal thing for people to decide on. But I think that we spend a considerable amount of money in the video, the acoustics here, even for when they have the shows, it's just terrible. It's just absolutely terrible because of the height of the building and the way it's constructed. It wasn't built for that. You know, and I think a town hall meeting should be conducted where we've had them since I came here. At first it was the old bunkhouse, and then the the building that was donated to us by the Chinasic family. And I think it's done very well and, but it looks like the recommendation is to carry on here in the summer months when we can. And I hope it's not, I hope our meetings are not disrupted when we start getting more programs, which I think is very important for the public to get involved in more programs as our funding comes forward. So I'm disappointed, but I'll go with the wish of council on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pacho. Councillor Schweinbetz.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I'm in support of this. During our campaign, I heard a lot about the ability to make sure that we can have meetings here. I found out a lot about the realities of the world, though. The fire hall was offered to us for a meeting place. The school was offered to us for a meeting place, but the reality is we don't have the AV equipment that is able to be moved there and to effectively provide Zoom services to everybody, and as well as the speakers and everything else. So I'm glad that it's here. If I read my calendar correctly, it's one meeting that won't be held here, and that is in July. 1 out of 20 is, we're doing fine. So I think we've given the people what we want. I think it serves a lot of purposes, and I'm in support of this.
Any further discussion? I like council meetings in this hall. I think the extra room and space just makes it a more relaxing meeting. And just, yeah, changes the atmosphere a little bit. So I do have a slight preference for having council meetings here. I do support the motion as well. So no further discussion, call a vote on the recommendation or the motion, sorry. Has there been a motion? We've moved, yes. So call a vote on the motion. Getting late. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Next item of business, CAO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on to item 12D, Report of Community Services Manager dated November 4th, 2024. Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Grant Program Opportunities and Progress Update.
I have a motion to accept this recommendation, moved by Councillor Swinburne, seconded by Councillor Jackson. CAO Cook?
Sorry, Your Worship, there's a report from our Community Services
Oh,
Manager.
I jumped the gun on that. Sorry, Community Service Manager. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I just wanted to take this opportunity to provide an update to council on the 2024 Community Emergency Preparedness Fund grant projects and seek support on those resolutions to apply for the 2025 streams. So UBCM supports a variety of funding opportunities, including the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund streams. The ones that we will be talking about tonight are for emergency operations centers and emergency support services. In the Village's 2024 grant application, it was successful for the amount requested of $18,524. Through this grant, Village management staff completed several emergency management training courses, including an in-person Emergency Operations Center's Essential course in partnership with the District of Kent and Seabird Island. Additional emergency management courses completed included Introduction to Emergency Management in Canada, Community Evacuations, and EOC Position Training. Along with these courses, grant funds supported the installation of window coverings at the EOC and EOC vests and supplies. The Village was also successful in its grant application for the ESS funding stream for the amount requested, $9,471. This grant supported the purchase of Signacade folding signs that can be utilized by the ESS team in the event of activation of the reception center. Vests were also purchased for the ESS team to identify the volunteers upon activation. Members of the management team completed Incident Command Systems Level 100 training, and an ESS volunteer attended the 2024 Network of Emergency Support Services Teams Conference. The role of ESS was highlighted at the Emergency Management Open House, and resources are currently being finalized to highlight to residents the roles and organizations that support emergency response in our community. In discussion with the Kent Harrison Joint Emergency Program Coordinator, focuses for the village's 2025 applications are planned to include supplies and equipment for ESS responders to utilize during mobilization, which support the modernization of the ESS program as well as safety of ESS volunteers. Additional EOC and emergency management training courses and applied workshops for village staff and wages to support this training. Reviewing the feasibility for a portable air conditioner for the EOC and electrical upgrades at the village office to allow for the use of a portable generator, which will support and allow business continuity in the event of a major disaster and EOC activation. The Community Emergency Preparedness Fund grant steerings allow for training, staff time, and emergency response supplies and equipment that would otherwise have to be funded from other sources. There are 2 recommendations before council this evening. That staff be authorized to prepare and submit a grant application for the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, Emergency Operations Center's equipment and training stream up to a maximum of $40,000. And that staff be authorized to prepare and submit a grant application for the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, Emergency Support Services, Equipment and Training Stream up to a maximum of $40,000. Thank you.
So moved, Mayor Talon.
I think we already moved this. We just, I think we have a motion already and a seconder, so discussion, I think. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we didn't, the recommendations weren't called at that time.
Sorry, now we need to move. Councillor Vital will move this, okay? And the seconder, Councillor Schweinbans, thank you. Discussion. Councillor Schweinbans.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. First of all, comment. I'm not sure why we need to approve this. I think you're the grant writing machine. I think we should just unleash her to leave no stone unturned. So I'm not sure why you need to ask permission to look for a grant. Leave no stone unturned. We got to look for everything, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just kind of curious why we have to actually approve this. And then I do have a couple of questions as well. First one is does the District of Kent apply for this concurrently, since they are going to be sharing this emergency facility? It's the first question. And number 2, you had a list of things that you were hoping to get out of this, or hoping to improve at the emergency site. One of the things that Chief Curtis has said to me is that we need a new fire hydrant at the facility. We don't have our own fire hydrant there, apparently. And I'm reminded that last summer at I think it was the Rock Creek fire in the Shuswap, the fire department was lost. The actual building itself was lost. They lost the ability to have coordinated firefighting because of that. So I'm just wondering if the fire hydrant should be more of a priority than air conditioning and some of these other things. Sorry, there's a lot there.
CAO Cook, can you shed some light on this?
I'll speak to the fire hydrant, but consideration or conversation, and then the rest I'll pass to Christy, our Community Services Manager. That was brought forward from the fire chief to myself, and we have a meeting this week to discuss that further. That is a budgetary item that will have to be considered. It's not cheap to run a fire hydrant lead across the highway, so that we're gonna have to decide where that's gonna come from, if it's gonna come out of the fire hydrant, the fire department's budget, or if it's gonna come out of our general operating budget. So that's something that we'll look into further, and I'll pass the other questions off to our Community Services Manager.
Community Service Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Schweinbans. Many grants just require resolutions, so that's why it's before you tonight for that one. While we do work in conjunction with the District of Kent for our emergency management program, we do have our own facilities and trained staff to operate in EOC. Ideally, it would be a combined response, but if for some reason there were emergencies in both municipalities, then we would be responsible for maintaining our own EOC. And the fire hydrant, it does not appear that it would be an eligible expense through this funding streams, to further echo what Tyson has mentioned.
Thank you, Community Service Manager. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That carries. We wish you luck and hopefully get a positive response. Next item of business.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on to item number 13, bylaws. Campground holiday bylaw and mobile home regulation by repealing bylaw number 1213/2024. The recommendation is that the campground holiday park and mobile home regulation repealing bylaw number 1213/2024 be adopted.
Move, your worship.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that passes unanimously. Next item of business, CEO Cook.
Thank you, your worship. Moving on to item number 14, new business. New business is from Councillor Schweinbenz regarding Bear Smart.
Councillor Swinbanks.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, to council. And I apologize for getting this out to you late. But you have in front of you a pamphlet of Bear Smart Communities. And I just wanted to speak briefly about it and ask for your approval on this. And this has been going on for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years, but we have bears in our community. And it's on, it seems to be on social media every single night. I live near Pine Avenue, and I think Pine Avenue seems to be a highway of bears, it seems. And it's not just bears, there's cougars and raccoons that this sort of program will look after as well. This week, I've spoken to 3 people here. First of all, resident Steve Jacoby. Some of you may know him. He lives on Echo here, and he's a senior conservation officer. So I consulted with him, Michael Baldry from the Wild Safe BC government, and a fellow named Andy McCullen, who's a brother-in-law of Jim and Linda, who were just here. He devised a Bear Wise program. And basically, it's an educational program. There might be some changes in policy or bylaw that we'll have to take a look at. But bear conflict is a problem in BC. There was almost 14,000 bear-human conflicts. Only a fraction of them are looked after by conservation officers, and it's become pretty clear that the provincial government is not investing further money in their conservation officer program. So it's incumbent upon communities to look after their wildlife problems. 14,000 bear-human conflicts, and unfortunately, it's resulting in an average over a year-to-year average of about 640 bears killed, and quite a lot of that is here in the Fraser Valley Regional District. So it's an educational program. It requires volunteers. Maybe again, like I said, some policy changes. We need to prepare a bear hazard assessment, a bear human conflict management plan, maybe revise some planning and decision-making in our bylaws or policies and procedures. It's education. We need to, it probably will involve some changes to our solid waste management plan and implement Bear Smart bylaws. They're willing to come here to our next open house and talk to residents and talk to us. And this is a UBCM program. I think you'll be happy to hear. They've adopted it. There's many like-sized communities. Worcester's a prime example. They actually have a full-time bear expert on site. They have bear conflicts, but they seem to manage it well. Naramata, Port Alberni, Coquitlam, Kamloops, Squamish, Lions Bay. There's quite a few communities that are part of it, and it's growing. And I think since we're a tourist community, since we are on the interface of the wilderness here, it'd be wise to adopt this. And my motion today is just to ask council to investigate the Bear Smart UBC program and to come back to council in a timely fashion. I'm suggesting April 1st. The bears are about to go into hibernation, I think. And depending on the weather, they should be waking up 1st of April. So hopefully we can get something in place before then. And secondary motion is to correspond with the District of Kent and the Fraser Valley Regional District to see if they would support this as well. If it please the council, I'd
second
like your
that.
support.
Your worship.
Moved by Councillor Schweinbenz and seconded by Councillor Fascio. CEO Cook, comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. Pardon the interruption. I just wonder if this might be a great opportunity for council to refer this to the Environmental Committee.
Okay, we have a motion and a seconder and a comment. Further discussion on the motion. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Thank you for bringing this forward, Council Schweinbetz. I was totally unaware that this program was available. Um, Would they consider coming and doing a presentation here at a council meeting before we sort of like make a total decision? I do agree and will be supporting your motion, the first motion. The second motion, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves until we have the ability to get a little bit more information on the program from staff before we approach Kent and the regional district. But I will support your first motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, to Councillor Vidal. Yeah, she mentioned that she would come to our open house. I can push that further. Their whole thing is working with communities and educating them, and they have a whole program that they can provide to us. So, I think they would be willing to come and do a presentation, maybe on Zoom, if not in person. The second one is, you know, I go down McPherson a lot, go for a walk and a jog with the dog, and some days you can see bears clear as day right in the cornfields along McPherson. And that's why I just think it's not going to be an effective program if we don't get some of the residents along our periphery involved, and that would be getting District of Kent involved.
Thank you, Councillor Schweinbetz. I agree with you. As you know, I live on McPherson, and one of our neighbors came over to me last week on the weekend and said they had forgot to bring in their bird feeder on the weekend. And as a result, some damage was done to the exterior of their house by a bear. So I think we should include the regional district and District of Kent, at least have correspondence with them, but I'm just hesitant until we can get some more information on the program. And once we have that, then we could get staff to approach Kent and the regional district. That's just my feeling. Thank you.
Councillor Fascio.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I support the program and the suggestion for our staff, but this is nothing new, eh? We've had the bear program in Harrison many times, which was paid for and conducted by the Fraser Valley Regional District. It says a grant they used to get from the provincial government. They used to do a education program. I believe it's always normally be, I think, July 1st in the plaza after the opening ceremony. They have a booth set up there. Then they would go around every household in the community and hang hangers on to make you aware of what you should do and you shouldn't do for bears. So that's a program that I haven't heard it lately, but that was well used and it happened for several years. And we have to remember that the south end of McCombs, there used to be the famous garbage dump, and the smell is still there. And the bears, bears is nothing new to Harrison, but the time there used to be something between 10 and 20 bears when the garbage dump was running in back in the day. But that's another story. But yeah, I would say that I'm sure the staff will be contacting the regional district because they really had this program going at one point, but there is a cost to it to do that. I'm not sure what UBCM, whether there's a grant they have or whether it's free. But again, I agree with you to refer it to staff to come back with some information on this. Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, thank you. I also agree with the first motion. I think getting some more information is good. I think until we have that information, we make a decision on whether we're adopting this program or something else, then maybe premature to talk to the District of Kent on it. I think we should do our own side first, and then when we're confident, move forward with the District of Kent and our neighbors like that. Any further discussion on, I guess we'll break it, the vote into, there's two motions. One is the recommendation for staff to review and bring something back to us. And the second on the, let's deal with the first motion first. Is that all right? Gonna call a vote on the first motion. All in favor? That passes unanimously. On the second motion to engage with the District of Kent at this time on the program, any further discussion on that motion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? 3 in favor, opposed? Then that motion carries as well. Next item of business.
I just wanted to check to make sure that council didn't want to refer this program to the Environmental Committee for consideration.
I think we've referred to staff. Can staff make a recommendation that it comes, that it goes to the Environment Committee as a second, as follow-up?
That referral comes from council.
Okay, so I need to be educated on how things get referred to our committees, I guess. Only council can refer matters to committees? Councillor Swinbanks.
I would support that. We're a new committee. We need things to do. I'd like council to refer more things to the Environmental Committee. We're going to be meeting, I hope, in the next month. So this is a good start. So I would support that motion to refer to the Environmental Committee, not wanting to slow down Kirsty and her grant application. So
there's a motion to refer to the Environment Committee, this question as well. Is there a seconder to that
I'll
motion?
second that for discussion.
Second and discussion.
Discussion is that no disagreement, but I believe that the first motion that should be dealt with first, and then when we get the feedback from the staff, then that should go forward to the Environmental Committee. Otherwise, they're going to be asking the same questions to go to our staff to get information from them. So you double. I think it's unnecessary at the moment. Get the information first, and they can refer it to the environmental if council wishes. Otherwise, they're going to be asking the same questions for the staff to get back to them, which is double work for the staff. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Any further discussion on the motion referred to the committee right now? Seeing none, all in favor of sending this to the Environment Committee at this time? 1 in favor, opposed, and that motion fails. The next item of business, CAO Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving on into item number 15, questions from the public. They're pertaining to agenda items only.
Questions from the public. Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Oh, hello? Yeah, that's working. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the question of the bears, we've had quite a lot of reports on the Harrison Hot Springs News and Views Facebook page. But one of them reports that one of the bears seen in the vicinity of Pine Avenue has a tag in its ear, a yellow bear tag. That usually means that that is a problem bear that's been captured by conservation, usually somewhere around Coquitlam. And unfortunately, when they decide to release that bear in the wild and they drive a little bit past Harrison up the east side of the lake, they think that's the wild. And it's not. because those bears are habituated to go to residential areas and eat garbage. And if there's a bear in Harrison with a yellow tag, it's a problem bear from another community that needs to be dealt with. It was already a problem before it got here. And I found that out by following 2 conservation trucks up Rockwell Drive to the East Harrison Forest Service Road one day, carrying bear traps. And I wondered why they were going up there to trap bears. Turned out that they were actually transporting bears from Coquitlam to the east side of Harrison Lake. And those bears ended up being shot by a family who were threatened on the shores of Harrison Lake on a beach they'd got to by boat. So I'm just giving a bit of a warning. If there's a bear with a yellow tag, conservation needs to know about it, needs to track it down and somehow deal with it, because it's not a good thing to have in the village. Tonight, one of our willow trees just blew down on the lake outside during the meeting, so we're in for some rough weather. So I'll make that my question for the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Allen. I think we're off. Thank you, Mr. Allen, for your points. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you. I think one of the easy solutions here too would be to replace all of the non-bear proof garbage cans with bear proof. I'm surprised at the number of garbage cans that are still non-bear proof. And they border the East Sector and Woods Park, which is a highway for bears. So it's an easy solution. I don't, it's just something to consider. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have a question about the Bear Smart, and I guess what it would be is if we're going to adopt that program, I'm asking council and staff to also look into providing more service along Esplanade for garbage removal later at night. I live on Esplanade, and trust me, especially during the summer and even now on nice days, people are out on the waterfront until 11 or 11:30. Every day, I pretty much, when I can, walk the lagoon as far down to the hotel. And it's been very disturbing this year, the number of garbage bags that have been left overnight along the sidewalks. I've lived in the Caribou, Bridge Lake. I'm very familiar with the Bear Smart program. And Councillor Facio, I also remember at the plaza that representatives from that group were there with camp pamphlets, which I picked up and went over with my grandchildren on several occasions. But I think the community has to accept some responsibility, and garbage cans left outside overnight is another thing. Having garbage cans that are bear proof is another thing that needs to be addressed, because if you don't, that's why the bears are coming, because there's a source, and the source is right along our streets. So thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Fascio.
Zoom.
Oh, sorry, I can't hear. Is there any questions on people participating remotely on Zoom tonight?
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to ask a question? Please raise your hand.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.